Looking for a guaranteed way to create content that resonates with your audience? Start a podcast. Interview your ideal clients and let them choose the topic of the interview. Because if your ideal clients care about the topic, there's a good chance the rest of your audience will care about it too. Learn more at sweetfishmedia.com.
You're listening to B2B Growth, a daily podcast for B2B leaders. We've interviewed names you've probably heard before, like Gary Vaynerchuk and Simon Sinek, but you've probably never heard from the majority of our guests. That's because the bulk of our interviews aren't with professional speakers and authors. Most of our guests are in the trenches leading sales and marketing teams. They're implementing strategy. They're experimenting with tactics. They're building the fastest growing B2B companies in the world. My name is James Carberry. I'm the founder of Sweetfish Media, a podcast agency for B2B brands, and I'm also one of the co-hosts of this show. When we're not interviewing sales and marketing leaders, you'll hear stories from behind the scenes of our own business. We'll share the ups and downs of our journey as we attempt to take over the world. Just kidding. Well, maybe. Let's get into the show.
Welcome back to B2B Growth. I am your host for today's episode, Nikki Ivy with Sweetfish Media. Guys, I've got with me today Shawn McKee, who is Vice President of Marketing for WebPT. Shawn, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, Nikki. Thanks for having me on the show.
Man, of course. I'm excited. I'm excited to talk with you about what we're going to dig into today, which is leveraging original research to drive growth. We're going to talk about three major avenues that we can apply this in. But before we get to all of that, Shawn, I would love it if you would just give us all a little bit of background on yourself and what you and the folks at WebPT are up to these days.
Sure. So I've been at WebPT 4 years, and I've been in healthcare IT for close to 10 years. Really helping to grow businesses and selling software to healthcare providers. Prior to that, I did some B2C work, and I started in sales, which I think as a B2B marketer is critical. You can understand a little bit what it's like to be a salesperson, and so have a better relationship there. I used to sell print advertising, and I'd have to cold call all day. And one of the things that taught me is there's got to be a better way to find leads. And so when I kind of moved into marketing, learning how to create an inbound engine and drive demand that way and digital marketing is kind of where I grew up. And so WebPT is a complete software platform for physical therapists to grow their business, to run their practice, and to take care of their patients. And so we're the market leader in the space, and we've been on the Inc. 5,000, 7 years running, and really just seen tremendous growth in this industry.
I love it. And I love that you have this sales background in that you understand how that informs what you're doing as a marketer. I talked to Latany Conant, CMO over at 6 Sense the other day, and she has a sales background as well. She referred to herself as a fox in the hen house when she came from sales to marketing. And I love that. I love that idea. I'm doing a little bit of that myself here. So you're preaching to the choir. And that's why I'm excited to get these insights from you, because they are sort of informed from this holistic kind of experience that you've had with your background. Just as an overview, talk to us a little bit about within the concept of leveraging this original research to drive growth, what it is, why it's important, and then we'll get into some of the ways that we apply it.
Yeah, so for us, we're in a niche vertical, right? Physical therapy, healthcare is its own kind of niche, and then we're even more focused there. And so, about 3 years ago, we kind of had this thought of there was a gap in the market for thought leadership and for data. We have our industry association. But they don't have as much reach or as much data as some of the other industries might. And so we saw an opportunity to create an annual report on the state of the industry. And so we created that report, and we have a pretty good reach. We've got a good list, a good database to market to, good reach on social. And so we built out our own survey, launched it. I got over 5,000 responses at that year, and really used that. And now it's become really the centerpiece of our thought leadership every year. And it did a lot of great things that everywhere from the thought leadership side of things and establishing our credibility as industry leaders and understanding the industry and trying to move it forward, all the way to help guiding our products and giving us a lot of data. We share a lot of that data out, but a lot of that data we use internally to really refine a lot of the pieces of our business and understand our customers better.
Yeah, for sure. And so that's no matter what you mentioned is specifically, that you guys are in selling to a niche within a niche with physical therapy. And I can see how that research-driven growth, if you will, can be not just super important, but super effective, right? Because these are folks who are held to standards that change a lot of the time. What they do is so highly technical a lot of the time, more and more, I think, than a lot of folks realize. And they lean on being able to, keep track of things and keep up with things on their day-to-day more than I think folks outside the industry understand in terms of how important the right tech is for those industries. But when we talk about leveraging specifically research to drive growth there, talk about what that looks like when it comes to driving awareness within a niche vertical.
Sure. So for us, it helped us in a number of ways. One is we got this huge wealth of data that we could then take and look at across the spectrum. So we were really good in the SMB space, and we had really built our name there. And so we understood those owner operators. We really understood those members and that segment of the market. We had less understanding of some of the non-physical therapists, of some of the executives in the larger clinics and hospitals and things like that. And so we were able to kind of get some of that feedback and then take that, find out what they cared about, find out what their challenges are, understand a little bit about who they are, because, now we know their age, their what they've done in their career, where they're located, and we can start to really customize the way we go after this and really segment to drive messaging. And so on that side, internally, it helped influence really the messages we deliver to the different buyers and different segments across the audience. And then we could take all this data we had and slice it up and then serve it up to those specific people. So if you're a billing manager at a larger group, we know that you care about the reimbursement rates. And so we can then benchmark across the country in your area and serve that up, because everybody wants to know how they're doing. Everybody wants to size themselves up against someone that looks like them. And so we were able to take that and to deliver that to audiences. And it really, we release the report, and it's 50, 60 pages every year, full of data. And then we slice it up and serve up littler pieces. We do a webinar on it every year. And so it's really helped us become known as this industry thought leader, and as a company that cares about the industry, that pulls together all this information, spends the money, spends the time to do it. And then when we identify these challenges, then we start to try to move the industry forward. And then also it influences our product roadmap and what we deliver to our customers.
Hey everybody, Logan with Sweetfish here. You probably already know that we think you should start a podcast if you haven't already. But what if you have and you're asking these kinds of questions? How much has our podcast impacted revenue this year? How's our sales team actually leveraging the podcast content? If you can't answer these questions, you're actually not alone. This is why Casted created the very first content marketing platform made specifically for B2B podcasting. Now you can more easily search and share your audio content while getting greater visibility into the impact of your podcast. The marketing teams at Drift, Terminus, and here at Sweetfish have started using Casted to get more value out of our podcasts, and you probably can too. You can check out the product in action at casted.us/growth. That's casted.us/growth. All right, let's get back to the show.
Right. That's the question I wanted to ask you next and here in a second, is about what types of product insights you can gain from that kind of research. But I think it's really important the way you talk about the spirit in which you guys can first conduct this research, and then the way that you guys put it out there, you're a resource. You're a resource to folks in the industry, whether they are your clients or not, which I think is definitely the way that B2B is going. And if it's not, it needs to go. Like if you don't get that yet, you're gonna get left behind. And the folks who I really look up to as marketers are folks doing what you're doing, which are like, thinking beyond simply how can we engage folks and attract them toward being, our customers, but how can we make a contribution that they take with them to the next organization that they work at that outlives us or any one campaign. And it sounds like that's really what you're talking about when we talk about leveraging this research.
Yeah, our CEO says we're almost two companies, right? We're a software company, and then we're almost this media company, right? Because we create a lot of content. We recognize that in our market, most of the owners and PTs and things, they don't have MBAs. They didn't go to school for business. They went to school to take care of patients. And so for us, it's about, we go back to our mission is to help therapists achieve greatness in practice, right? And so we hope they do it with our software, but if they don't, that's okay. And I think your point is spot on, which is to be part of the Evoke set, to say like, okay, I need an EMR, I need a billing software. I know I got to check out WebPT, right? Or, we go to events and we hear people come up and say, oh, we love your blog, we love your report, we love your webinars. We use this other junk software and I wish I could get them to switch it, but, at some point we'll get there. And so it is about the industry and it is about building that relationship. And I think you're right. If all you're thinking about is sales right now, then you're missing the sort of long play and the building of that brand that's going to have you, be a market leader down the road.
Yeah, there are so many conversations to be had in that industry or in some of these so-called niche industries. I used to sell into healthcare myself. I worked for a company. It was called Kinzer. It's now called WellSky. Yeah, it's a really popular EMR platform. And I'm still an advocate for them since I worked with them, and I've seen firsthand them do the same thing that you're talking about, right? Like most of I worked there as an SDR, and most of the folks I was reaching out to on a daily basis would have been maybe the end user for that platform, but they wouldn't have been the folks on the buying team. But It didn't matter. I was reaching out to them to make sure they knew about some new resource that we had that was out, just to make sure that they had something to engage with. It's a whole other play to talk to, the folks on the buying team. But I was proud to be able to be a part of those efforts to inform, educate, and empower the practitioners in that industry. And so what are some of the ways that affects your product insights?
For us, it's really great to get this much information. Usually what we get is about 50-50 of our own customers and non-customers, somewhere in that range. So it's really been powerful to do a few things. One is we look at NPS. That's one of the questions we ask. And so we can benchmark ourselves against every other competitor in the market and against the market as a whole. And so then we can take that data and say, look, we have an NPS of 30. The average NPS for the market is negative. So it shows that difference. And so we can put that back out to the market, but we were able to say what features matter most, what products matter most, and rate how we're delivering on that versus how important it is. And so this has been able to help guide our product roadmap to say, okay, we're weakest in, say, home exercise program. That was something that we saw as a weakness. So we went back and we said, okay, build, partner, buy. We ended up buying a home exercise program and incorporating it into the software. And now it's become a strength of ours. And so we saw an opportunity there. And now that's over the past couple of years driven us to create a product that'll be released next year that solves that problem. And so it's just been an amazing tool to get a huge amount of quantitative data, because our product team goes out and they go to clinics, they talk to people, and they get that one-on-one deep information. But to be able to provide them with, 5,000 responses talking about what's important, it's really powerful way to back that data up.
Yeah, I love that. I love that so much. And again, it is something that I've seen work. So y'all pay attention. before we move on to the next segment and I kind of get into your head a little bit, is there anything else with respect to how to leverage original research to drive growth and product insight that you want to leave with our listeners before we move on?
Yeah, you touched on something there that I think is important. It's about the person, right? I mean, I think we all in B2B, we all go after the companies, but everybody wants their company to be successful, but they're also trying to also advance their careers. They're also trying to move those things forward. So we're able to give this data to whoever is looking for it to see. We do pay, right? And so what salary data, all sliced all different types of ways. So people can go and look and they see where they sit. They can also take then that to their boss. Or if you're running a company, say, okay, no, I'm paying my people right, or I need to step up here, right? That's what I'm going to need to do. And it really helps empower the individuals in the company and gives them a sense of how they're performing. Because I think that's one of I think anyone who's striving in their industry wants to know how we're doing, right? Like, we're doing better than last year, but are we doing as well as the competition? Are we doing, better than most, or, where do we stack up? And I think the industry survey has been a really powerful tool to help get people there, and then to help drive not only them to take action and to focus on what's important, but to also help, make some arguments. Some of our customers have even taken that data and gone to payers, right? Blue Cross, Blue Shield, whoever, and said, look, this is the average in my state, and you're under this. You need to bring this up. And so they've leveraged that data to get increases in their reimbursement. So it's just a really powerful tool that can be used in so many different ways. And I think it's a ton of work, but it really has become the kind of the cornerstone of our whole content and inbound strategy.
Yeah, for real. Thank you for laying that out for us the way that you did. I think that you gave us a little bit of everything that folks can take away with, and whether it's a different way of thinking about what they're already doing or just something that they may not be doing. As I keep saying they, I mean we, that we could start doing now. So now, Shawn, that I've successfully picked your brain and seen what I could get out of it, it is time for you to tell us about what you are putting in it. So talk to us about a learning resource that you've engaged with here recently that's informing your approach, or that's just got you excited these days.
Yeah, so I am a reader. I do like to read a lot. I try to stay current with kind of what's going on with kind of daily newsletters like The Hustle, Morning Brew, the Harvard Business Review. All those are type of things that I kind of read regularly. I mean, from a book perspective, right now I'm reading 2 books. One is A Random Walk Down Wall Street, which is like kind of a history of investing in the markets, it's heavy, it's thick,
it's dense.
And I'm reading Islands in the Stream, which is a Hemingway book, and so I try to balance kind of productive with fun. I just read Dare to Lead by Brene Brown, which I thought was fantastic.
Yeah,
it was really, really good. I think as a B2B marketer, Crossing the Chasm is a classic. I think
for sure.
Everyone should read that regularly. Grit was another great book. Never Split the Difference, I thought was a great one on negotiation.
That's one of my favorites in the last few years.
Yeah. And so, I think I read a lot about like Emotional Intelligence 2.0 was one I read recently. Mm-hmm. The Goal is an interesting book. It's kind of a novel about process and the theory of constraints. So I read a lot. I also really focus on going to conferences that we just got back from a Warburg Pincus CMO CRO summit. So got to meet some of my peers and pick their brains. I think that's a critical part of growing as a marketer is you got to have a network and you got to bounce ideas, because we're all going through similar things probably, and we're all at different stages in the journey, whether it's figuring out content marketing or event marketing or whatever it is. I think it's really important to grab a beer, grab a coffee, and swap war stories. So I guess that's most of what I'm what I'm thinking about now.
I love it. No, you gave me a lot to relate to, that things we've read in common or are reading in common, and then some stuff that I hadn't heard of yet. So thanks for all of it. And I'm sure that just like me, everybody listening has become a fast fan of yours, Shawn, and they're going to want to know how to keep up with you. Tell us how folks can connect with you.
Sure. So LinkedIn or Twitter, either of those, you can find me on there. Shawn McKee 4 on Twitter, and then LinkedIn.
Perfect. So there's actually so many other questions that I have just from talking with you and having sort of a similar background with my experience at Kinzer and what you're doing with WebPT. So it just means we're going to have you on the show again sometime down the road. You're going to have to sit with me again. But until then, thank you again so much for bringing what you brought to this show today and for taking the time to come out and talk to us. Have a good one, Shawn.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it.
We totally get it. We publish a ton of content on this podcast, and it can be a lot to keep up with. That's why we've started the B2B Growth Big Three, a no-fluff email that boils down our 3 biggest takeaways from an entire week of episodes. Sign up today at sweetfishmedia.com/big3. That's sweetfishmedia.com/big3.